Hello and welcome. We have a really good show. Sit back and relax. Tonight's episode, when life gives you LeMans, make lemonade. And here we have the Cozy Coupe. Spoiler alert. This comes from ZoomOn in Hong Kong. This is something I found a month ago when I was looking for another project. I found a Civic Type R that I reviewed last week, and a few other things that will be coming up on the channel. Probably not the next time. I've got a couple other projects in the works, but here is the full build for the mini Cozy Coupe. Something that you might have had as a child. I don't remember having one, but I could barely remember what I had for breakfast. This is a resin kit that does require a little bit of cleanup. Being a resin kit, you also want to wash it before you do any painting to release the chemical agents that are found in the mold processing. Then of course you want to prime it to make sure that it'll accept the paints that you put on. Very simple base coat white after priming was what I used. Not the traditional ketchup and mustard colors of a Cozy Coupe. After a coat or two of primer, as well as 2 or 3 coats of the base color, you can let that dry for a little bit. Although shown on the box art and in the instructions, it is missing a steering wheel. Good thing I had these 1/43rd scale steering wheels for another project. They work perfectly with the Cozy Coupe in 1/24 scale. For another project, I had also picked up these decals. This is for 1/96 scale, Porsche 917K in the Martini Rossi racing colors. These also will work perfectly for our 1/24 scale Cozy Coupe. The Martini Rossi racing team won Le Mans in 1971 with this number 22 Porsche 917K. These stripes represent the number 3 car. And if the colors look very familiar to you, it's possible because another marque borrowed them for their performance models. These 1/96th scale decals and the 1/43rd scale sport steering wheel will work very nicely on our 1/24th scale Cozy Coupe. Before applying decals, we'll want to protect our paint job with a couple thin coats of gloss clear. Steering wheels in many modern racing cars will have a body-colored stripe at the top of the wheel, as well as an Alcantara finish. To simulate this, I masked off the top of the steering wheel with 1mm tape and used textured black paint from Zero Paints. This gives it an Alcantara look. You can use it to many parts of the interior, the seats, the door panels, dashboard. Works really good. The results were really good. Even at this small scale, it came out pretty good. After the gloss coat dried, I progressively wet sanded it with 3000, 6000, and 8000 grit sandpaper to smooth out the finish before applying decals. That's to the top and the body. To protect the new paint job and gloss coat, I used masking tape to cover the top side while I applied an interior color of flat black. This is completely unnecessary because the Coupes usually only are molded in two colors, usually the ketchup and mustard colors. But this was a lot of fun. I did the underside and the interior to give it more of a race-inspired look, and the results come out really nice, as you'll see. I had to fix the missing steering wheel problem by drilling out the body where the aftermarket steering wheel fits. A good tip to quickly paint black or silver is to get a Sharpie. It works really good on window trim areas. And here I'm using a silver Sharpie to add the color of the wheel hubs. Continuing the famous racing Porsches inspired theme, the Porsche Carrera GT from the early 2000s had center lugs. On the left side they were red, on the right side they were blue. And here I am painting the seat a sporty red. I also got these carbon fiber decals from ZoomOn, and they will be applied to the wing or spoiler. So I masked off the spoiler to get the right shape to it, and then carefully trimmed it out with these ginormous scissors, as well as cutting tabs to fit around the wing mount supports. When applying decals, it's always good to have a decal solvent handy. I use Microset to soften the decal and to help it adhere to the piece. After the water and decal set has been removed, the decals had a chance to set. Come back with Microsol. This also softens the decal. It helps it to adhere to irregular surfaces and complex curves. I'm taking the narrow part of the side decals and applying it over the white stripe that I left on the steering wheel. Kit Supply decals have film over each individual decal on the sheet, which means you can cut loosely around the piece that you're working with, or you can dip just that part of the sheet into water and expect that one decal to come off. When working with aftermarket decals, the film that protects the decal covers the entire sheet. So what you need to do is trim very, very, very closely around each decal, then dip it in water and release it onto the body piece that you're working with. It can be quite tedious and add hours to your project. Although these stripes work with this kit and can be manipulated and cut, they weren't made for this kit. So I had to do quite a bit of manipulating, quite a bit of blending and covering the stripes so that they look like they were made for the kit all along. And so it has a very unique and uniform appearance. A perfect example of this is the top part where I needed 2 decals to make it look like one large stripe that goes over the top. Again, these decals were made for a car that is in 1/96th scale, which would have been quite a bit smaller than a Hot Wheels car. A few years ago, I read an article in a car magazine about a Le Mans entry in the 50s or 60s of 3 pedal cars that were entered into an alternative fuel class. And they were apparently the only ones to enter. They raced 24 hours. Again, it was Le Mans or Sebring or one of those 24-hour endurance races. And all 3 of them came across the finish line 24 hours later. It's a funny article, but I can't find any information on it, so I'm going to say that it's a fun story for now. Once the decals have been applied and given a chance to dry, it's always good to protect them with a couple thin coats of gloss clear. A silver Sharpie was used to make the buckets for taillights that I used clear pieces from a Gundam kit. Sorry for all you Gundam fans out there, this is probably sacrilege. Putting clear red over the lenses and then carefully applying them made taillights. I wanted a shiny appearance, so I used this microfiber set from Tamiya, as well as a gloss-coated varnish, also from Tamiya. You just apply directly to the gloss coat and make it look nice. For final assembly, I used this cyanoacrylate glue, or CA glue. You can also use super glue, it has the same effect. This is something that you can use with painted surfaces, mixed medias like resin and metal, plastic, and it adheres quite nicely. One of the supports for the top was too short, so I replaced it with some styrene rod. This you can pick up at most hobby stores. mighty cozy coupe beckons our inner children. Remember those days. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you had a car like this when you were a kid, or a pedal car, something along those lines, or what your ideas would have been for a project like this. And have a great day.